don't know if we need to call Bob and maybe have a conference call with him.
Well, you explained it good enough that we know now what we need to do, so.
Well, and Joe, so
Yes.
some of those bridges and stuff that I just sent you were on that, in that urban renewal area, right?
I didn't check. I closed that.
Is it a boxed area or
No, it's- let me just
specifically
Grab it
roads?
real quick.
I think most of our bridges are on gravel roads, and I don't know that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know, and I don't, the original plan, I don't ever remember there was ever any discussion of bridges, in the urban renewal plan. So we probably
Oh,
have to
yeah,
go back and
there
amend.
was, Joe,
On the original one, there was?
I'm pretty sure.
So it didn't print out the whole
Okay.
county, but it's a lot of roads.
What is, okay, I gotta look at this. That's Leland.
The Leland Road, that one is included in the urban renewal plan going east out of side. So that's already in the plan. The north-south one just off Highway 9 looks like that, is in the plan. It just seems like there's a lot of these other than, again, if I'm reading this right, it's got, all I've got on what, Scott gave for his presentation on page 15 that Carla sent me was bridges, and they just have circles. And I don't know if those were the priority improvements that they were looking at,
I think so, yeah.
and the other were box culverts. I mean, I see.
Wow,
Most of the bridges we put in are box culverts. We
Okay.
replaced the bridge with a box culvert.
Box culvert, okay.
but we have had some, of the swap money. But I don't think we've done a bridge for a couple of years.
Well, didn't they just do one by Leland? Or did they put box culverts in there too?
West of Leland,
But it was.
that was double box,
Double box, sorry.
but that was a year ago.
The one we had to bid out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a year ago.
So, I mean, it's just whether or not you have existing road use tax money or swap money or, STP dollars to do that, or if you plan on using TIF funds and what that schedule would look like. The other thing I cautioned Carla about is Bob had put in his public hearing notice that this project was $1.5 million on the courthouse. Well, you can't exceed 1.5 million. So if it potentially could go to 2 million or 2.5 million, we need to put that in the plan. Because if you can't legally exceed the dollar threshold that you put in your notice, because you're telling the public, this is the dollar amount that we're going to spend up to, not to exceed amount.
I think we
And
had,
if you exceed that, then you have to go back and amend the plan again.
so I think we had at least a couple 100,000 cushion in there, didn't we?
Well,
100,000 is what I think Carla was.
I think after with the architect and the structural engineer, we might be closer, especially with the roof. I mean, we just don't know.
Well, say it was 6 on the roof with all of that, and you've got, what, 7 with this?
I did 460,000 for this side, 460,000 for this side, and then 500,000 for the roof, which makes 1.4 million.
Yeah,
And it's cutting it close. If it's in the amendment, we don't have to use it, but I'd hate to hit the mark where we can't go any higher.
right.
Right. It doesn't hurt you to say it's $2 million project, other than you need to be able to explain that to the public if you get questioned.
It's an old building, and we never know what we're gonna come into.
And I totally agree. That's why I'm saying I would like to see a higher number.
Yeah,
We could because when I'm doing these, if somebody tells me it's 1.5 million, I automatically add 25% to whatever number anybody gives me, so we don't run over.
And we don't wanna spend any more than we have to, but
Exactly, and you don't need to go through this exercise again, and it's simple enough, but, you know, your bond attorney is charging you $300 an hour, and, you know, it's gonna cost you some money, to keep doing these amendments, if we don't have to. And so, I just, I'll talk to Bob about, you know, that dollar threshold, because the notice, I think we're okay. Carla said it was 1.66 on the reimbursement bond regulation resolution that you approved. And I don't know how much money you're going to go back. That's back 60 days. So that will not count against that 1.5 million. So I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, it does.
then
So,
we got plenty of cushion then.
Cause then we have about 200,000 that's sitting out there for the
okay.
60 day.
So that gives you the cushion that we need. So maybe the 1.5 is fine.
No, we just,
Just do it 2
the
million.
roof, it could be a nightmare up there.
I agree.
Especially if we have to start replacing some rafters, if, you know, we've got water leaking in. If we have to replace some rafters, I know we're gonna have to replace all the sheeting, so it could be a mess.
Well, I'll talk to Bob about that and see if he has any problem jumping it to 2. And I need to talk to Heil. I don't know if you guys, again, if you, is it your intent to do these roads and bridges this year?
No,
Well,
and in fact,
we have projects that we're gonna try and, that were in the last 60 days that are,
Right, no, I'm not talking, I'm talking about moving forward with bonding for bridge and road replacement. Because,
well, we haven't come to a total agreement on that either, so.
okay.
We have road projects that are gonna be, and if we could do them with this, we were gonna, and if we can't, we were gonna do some of them anyway. Out of the.
Right, and so you just need to really match up the urban renewal map to what Scott has identified as those priority projects, or you guys have prioritized as projects, and see where, and if there are any gaps. And then you need to look at a timeline. And if it's more than a year out, I would say we just do the amendment a year out, because there could be a new project that pops up within that year's time.
with higher priority.
Pardon me?
With higher priority.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe we're back at the courthouse because we're needing another $500,000 to do whatever. I mean, I don't know. Typically, I mean, it's not unusual to do an amendment every year if you have enough cash flow coming in off your TIF increment, because you prioritize projects as they come in, and sometimes those priorities change. And that's really looking at, you know, your capital improvement plan and saying, okay, this is what we're going to shoot for next year or 2 years out. And then all of a sudden we get a bridge inspection, and that fails, and that becomes priority 1. And so we've got to refocus on that. And again, if it's within the urban renewal area and we've already identified it, then we can go forward with it. If not, we need to do an amendment, but we can do that amendment honestly within, 30 to 45 days. So it's not so critical that we can't be working, getting bid documents put together or whatever while we're doing the amendment.
Are we talking more cost though then?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yep. Every time you do an amendment,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know what Bob charges. I mean, we're typically $1,000 for our time or less, depending on how simple it is. And my guess is Bob's going to be in $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. I don't know that. You guys would have to look at prior billings. But your TIF fund pays for that. I mean, it comes out of the increment, so it's not like it's.
We pay for it.
You do pay for it, no question. It is a cost. It is an expense. So,
The other thing that was discussed was the disposal of our former LEC or the old hospital.
okay,
And we wanted to possibly put that in there to take it out of those funds.
you guys understand that TIF is only to be used for commercial industrial economic development. So you would have to,
Well, and-
in the plan, say that that's, we're using that as a reuse site for commercial industrial development.
Right.
I mean, so, again, I need to tell the story, and the same way with your building. Tell me why we're using TIP money to do this building, improvement, because why can't you use other funds? And that's what I have to justify in the urban renewal plan, why we're using TIP money, and there aren't, other alternative financing options.
Is that a fine line?
Well, you would lose every time, except because you basically have unlimited bonding capacity, because you guys, I don't know what, you've got $100 million worth of capacity. So why don't you just go out and borrow the money and do it? But so I've got to put in the plan, justification why the code changed, 5 years ago, whatever, this transparency law, that you have to do an analysis of use of TIF and why TIF has to be used and not other financing options. So I'm saying there are no federal or state grants available. Your local option sales tax is committed to other projects. What did I write here? Annual proceeds from the county's property tax levies are committed to maintain the operational integrity of the county. Further, the county cannot access its general fund reserves to aid in the county courthouse improvement project funding without risking unsound fiscal practice. So, I got to put a bunch of, language together to justify why we are using TIF funds. So, same way with, the courthouse or the LEC demolition, it has to have a, I don't want to say a public purpose, but there has to be benefit and it has to be in the form of economic development. And
Well, our wording on it would be disposal, not demolish, because we want to have flexibility whether we have to pay to take it down or we dispose of it to somebody else to repurpose.
right.
And then with the courthouse, Joe, I think the economic is that it's a tourist attraction. People come and look at the old building. Without the TIF money, we'd have to do, we'd have to modernize it and it would be different than what it is.
What's the worst scenario? It just, we'd have to pay it, we'd have to bond, then pay that TIF back?
Yeah, but there are no TIF police. And Mitchell County kind of set the bar on this by building a brand new courthouse. And they're in the same situation. They could have went out and bonded for this, but the likelihood of it passing a referendum is maybe not part of it. And they said, well, the public doesn't understand that it's structurally unsound and we can't have our people in there. So we need to do this, even if the referendum doesn't pass. If the referendum doesn't pass, we still have a problem. We need to have a place for our people. You guys, I'm going to say, aren't at that point, but if you got holes in your roof, roof's leaking, it is creating mold, creating unhealthy working conditions. That's why we need to do this, and we can't.
Hold on a second, would you, Joe?
Yep.
If I lift that up, can you put it back on speakerphone?
Yeah.
I just want to let you know you're on YouTube. All right, yep.
Oh.
So on our east entry, we deemed that as unsafe entry, because there was, somebody could get hurt just walking.
Absolutely, yes. And so, I mean, again, all we have to do, there's nothing that says yes or no in approval of this. I just have to lay it out what the alternatives are and an analysis of why we're using TIF. And that gets included in this plan amendment that I'm preparing for you guys.
So how about the point that we are already maxed out in our levies?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so that's what, yeah, I will put all that, that will be my job to put that in this plan. And again, I want to, and again, I'm following Bob's lead on this, saying, let's focus on the courthouse now. Let's get this project underway. If there's other projects, let's come back and do another amendment. And again, it's going to cost money. Every time you do the amendment, it costs money. But somebody's got to give me the right direction. I mean relatively soon. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in Minneapolis this afternoon. I'm taking kids back to the airport, and so I'm leaving at 11:30 today. And we need to really get this wrapped up by, I'm saying midweek of next week, so we can get the plan shipped out to the school district and get that consultation scheduled and held. So, and again, if you guys are comfortable giving it to them on Monday, saying the consultation session's Tuesday, that's fine too. I mean, there is no requirement other than that you give them notification. So, I mean, if you hand delivered something, you could do that Monday and, walk it into the superintendent's office and say, hey, here's our urban renewal plan amendment that we're doing. We're going to hold a consultation session tomorrow. Typically, they are supportive of these type of projects that, we can answer any questions that he might have. And he says, well, I won't even attend your consultation session.
That's what Bob said. He said they rarely come to the meeting anyway. So.
Correct. Yep. So, because of the state backfill, I mean, they're really not hurt. So, yeah, it's just usually not an issue. But with that said, I have had superintendents show up to say, you know what, we're looking at doing our own bond issue next year, and we need $2 million on our school improvements, and they don't understand that they're not impacted, but they think that, just because they don't fully understand the whole TIF, that they have concerns that their bond issue might be more subject to criticism or might not likely pass. I don't know if there's any of that going on
Just the NIAC one.
up there or not, but and the thing is, this will be an amendment that affects all the school districts in the county. So it'll be more than just Forest City.
This also affects NIAC?
Correct. Yep. But for whatever reason, we don't notify NIAC about the consultation session.
All right.
I don't, that's,
Well, I think you have enough information to start with. We'll get verification from our engineers that these projects are within the area already.
right. I guess that's what I need to know is if there's roads to be included or bridges to be included, then we need to get Bob on the phone and me on the phone and in agreement that that's what we're going to do with this plan amendment.
Okay. I know in 2021 fiscal year, he's got plans for paving.
Okay.
And according to this map, the red ones are the ones in the district? Or
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Red and blue are in the district.
There's a blue?
But if you look up there, the
Oh.
whole county.
blue is the original urban renewal boundary.
Okay, so pretty much any paved road looks like anything that's probably a little bolder. So yeah, looks like a lot of the area that we're paving is in that district, so.
Yeah, that's kind of what I surmised out of that whole thing as well. And again, even if it's not, you might be able to just substitute one where you were thinking that, well, let's push that back a year, and you could very well be doing another amendment. And again, it's how much money do you want to borrow? How much revenue do you have coming in? The TIF only runs 20 years, so I don't know how many, if we did it in 09, you've got probably 10 years worth of increment left, and how many dollars is that? How much do you want to borrow out? So, I mean, do you want to do all the roads now, or again, you're going to fully utilize the TIF increment, but you don't necessarily need to carry that debt for paving the road now.
Right,
when
we
you
don't
can-
wanna pave a road we don't need to pave yet.
Correct, exactly.
Would it be advantageous to have you and Bob and us on a conference call?
Well,
Or does it matter?
Again, if there's anything that's going to change, I say yes. If we're going beyond the courthouse, then I would say I'd like to get Bob on the phone just so we're all on the same page.
With us or just you two?
Pardon me?
With us or just you two?
Well, no, with you guys as well.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm going to follow up with Bob. Today.
Well, you said this was urgent, so I'm saying.
No, it is.
Would you like to do that? Would you like to do that Monday or Tuesday or?
Well, definitely would be the sooner the better. I mean, I could do it right now if you guys, but again, if you guys want to compare the roads and talk to Scott as to priority and see if they're in this area or not. Again, I have not talked to Jeff Heil to have an understanding of where you are financially, because I could,
We've been through all that with him.
Right.
We have an
And so-
excess of, what was it, 1.4 million?
Well, and see, Bob told Joe 3, so I don't know if I misunderstood
Yeah.
or if,
3 million?
yeah.
And it is. It is.
But that might not include this current payment that's coming out in June.
Right.
That's what,
Should we meet Monday instead of Tuesday?
Or also, or,
Or also? All right, well, let's have a conference call Monday, or whenever you can.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Monday's perfectly fine. I'm just we probably if you guys don't want to include any roads with this amendment, then I think we're okay and we won't need that conference call. If you want to include roads and bridges, then I think we need to do the conference call and engage Bob in that. Because again, he's already done the resolution setting the hearing. I haven't read that resolution to know if that resolution did not say anything about roads, that it was strictly the courthouse. And if that has any impact, let me,
All right,
yeah,
good
so
night.
your resolution of necessity, setting the hearing date only talks about the county courthouse urban renewal area to define exterior improvements to the courthouse exterior as an urban renewal project. So he did not include any roads.
Well, this might sound like a waste of money, but I'm not adverse to spending the 5,000 to do the amendment down the road. I don't wanna hurry and make the wrong decision either, so.
but I wanna be able to recapture this from 60 days ago.
but that's already,
Right, and
that's
that's
already
no
done.
problem. That
That's
is
already done.
not an issue.
Okay.
It's just doing future projects,
Alright.
road improvement projects down the road.
Call Bob and we don't have to be in on it.
Okay.
We'll
You just
we'll
want
take
to
our time doing it.
just go with what we have?
Yep.
That's my opinion.
Okay. And we'll just plan on doing another one in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Carla, do you have your I need your current bond capacity and current outstanding geo debt.
I'll have to go to my office. I'll put you on hold again.
Okay, perfect.
Is that it?
That's it for me. Once I
Okay,
get that information, I
can she call you back?
Maybe out.
we're holding up budget meetings here.
Well,
Yep.
she can go take care of, get
You
this
can
going
do that while
we
I'm
start.
doing this.
Robert.
Okay, hold on just a second, Joe.
Okay.
You guys can start. I'll be back.
Alright, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It sounded,
You go back Bob or Robert?
yes. Either way.
I've never known that. Okay, good.
I answered anything as long as you said with respect.
This is actually all of it right here in 10, 11 pages if you want to have that and not have to sift through the. You didn't ask me about, we can TIF for nature centers too. Mitchell County got $500,000 out of their TIF when they expanded theirs. Doesn't sound like you included it though.
Well, we're not done yet. Are you looking at, sustainable energy out there?
That's in our original plan, and our architect is, I think the way he has put it in there is as it's gonna be an alternate bid item. We got numbers on it 2 years ago, and it was pretty affordable, and actually our building is built with chases or conduit right to the roof, so it's, ready to go, so to speak, as far as the lanes where the wires would all go. And the systems they've got on our raised ridge.
Solar?
Sorry, yes, and we're doing geothermal.
Okay.
Unless we get completely blindsided by the cost, but I've talked to some engineers and companies that provide it, and they've told us what it should cost us for this building. And so we're gonna have geothermal. It's a matter of whether we would do wells or a loop system. We're not gonna do pump and dump. But, so yeah, geothermal is part of it. Heated floor in the lower level, and then possibly solar on the roof too. That's the other one. And that might come later, but the way they described it anymore with our raised ridge roof system, metal roof, you clamp them on each section. You or I could do it the way they talk about as far as maintenance and that type of thing. But so yeah, so the cost to operate it should be pretty reasonable. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to.
yeah,
Not have to increase our budget dramatically
Sure.
because of the cost of
Yeah.
operations.
yeah, no, it should be. Now, different people I talked to have talked about heating and cooling with geothermal that costs them virtually nothing, and others have fairly high electrical costs associated with geothermal, and I think I'm not sure why that is. Might have to do with their supplemental heat. I'm not really sure on that yet, but it's been a while since I looked at those specs and those numbers, but yeah. And then when we vacate our current building, the discussion is about turning that into a rental cabin, so there'll be revenue generated there. And the existing cabin we have out there on the lake, we rented that. I just counted it up the other day. I think it was 165 days this past year. So, and every year it goes up a little bit. And so I don't think we'll have trouble having another rental cabin. No other counties that have them.
So you're hoping for sustainability there too?
Yeah, it should more than cover the operational costs of it. Yeah, and my board did, at the last meeting, we met with our architect, and he wanted them to decide if they were gonna try to let bids the beginning of this year or next summer. And after the discussion about kind of where we're at with our fundraising and all that, they decided to wait until like the end of June, 1st of July, to let bids. About 30 days after that, we'd open bids, and then if everything comes in within budget, it would be September-ish is about when they would get started, get it closed in for the winter, and be hopefully done about a year from the start. This building, I maybe mentioned this before, the structure, the shell of it comes as pre-cut from several different companies. And so that part, they say goes up pretty quick.
Are these panels?
No, it's a post and beam.
Oh. okay.
So they call them, each section is called a bent. So you've got, we have a dozen of those, and they just, I've watched the videos of it, they just come in with a crane, they set them down, and they just go, once they get them put together, it all goes pretty quick, and then enclosing the building is, of course, finishing it off is what takes all the time, but, and we did complete, if you notice, you've driven by there, 90+% of the dirt work is done. Rognus did that in the last couple of weeks, and they'll come back and, well, they have some dirt they had to pile up that was frozen. They'll come back and level that. They're going to come back and burn and bury the remaining trees that are there, and a little bit of reshaping. And then the basement will be dug, which is, they've already kind of shallowed that out a little bit, so there's not going to be a huge expense for the basement itself. It's built into the side hill. It'll have, the southern wall will be a walkout, and then the other three sides will be built into the hill. It has a wraparound driveway that comes down into that lower level for equipment storage. That type
Now, I
of.
saw Ruggles doing the dirt work on the south side of the pond. Some of that there.
Yeah, it's all on the south side of the pond.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's being built on that hill there.
Okay. and
Where that sign
I had a
is.
misconception.
Yeah, some people thought because we had a sign on the other road, it was going up there. We did that just to catch people's eye as far as it was a little bit confusing for some of those. But yeah, everything, and those trees they took down, I've had a couple of comments about those and calls that, why is a conservation agency taking trees down? Well, there was about 300 trees in there, 90% box elder that were anywhere from 6 inches to 18 inches, falling in on themselves, and there were a couple of ash trees that would have died eventually anyway, a few cottonwoods. So we'll go in there and replace them with some native trees, some oaks, and prairie, wildflowers, and grasses on that hillside. I might have noticed through the beaver dam, got a notch taken out of it. I talked to Paul the other day, and he said his tile is now exposed, so he's pretty happy. So, until, I don't know, the beavers should run out of food, so they should move eventually. There are no trees left, so. So yeah, so now we know that, after July 1st is when our expenditures would kick in. And we've obviously been incurring some expenses with architect and engineering, about $115,000 to date, which is the vast majority. We don't have much left to pay those folks. And then we've spent $69 on the dirt work. We've got a few thousand left to go there, about 14 on the septic, which is in now. And then we could yet do the well after the trees are gone, the pile is burned. We might do the well, hopefully right north of the building. The engineer wants to do it east of the building. We'd like it up where all the other utilities are coming in. And so that's yet to be determined. But, and one thing, like, for example, the dirt work, our engineer had estimated that was going to cost up to 190-some thousand, and we did it for a little over 70. So we've seen some other areas we think we're going to save.
Where's the septic system?
Septic is way on the west point of that. They tucked it in over there.
So you'll have your distance between the well and the septic.
Yeah, we had to have the well 200 feet from the road right of way, or 200 feet, and also at least 200 feet from the septic field drain or septic tank itself, which we do. Yeah, that was one thing we had to make sure of to begin with. So yeah. On that, we're hoping, our architect is optimistic about the number of bids we're going to get. We'll see, I guess. I know I've had some folks inquiring already, but and then once the bids are approved, the shell of the building takes about three months to have developed or constructed, so that's part of the time lag. But
I know Grow Electric sells solar now too.
what do they? I haven't talked to them about anything. I did talk with Young.
We priced them compared to a company over in northwest Iowa, and they were much less than that.
I know, I talked to a guy, like in the Spencer area. He was pretty reasonable, and then some others have been quite a bit higher. It's about solar?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did talk to Brian early on when we were trying to formulate some numbers, and, because they use solar, and they're pretty happy with it, and some geothermal, I think, too, but, and I've been talking with the guy out of Cresco on the geothermal. Apparently they do all the boring across North Iowa.
Now, is this going to be Alliant or Heartland?
Heartland. So we've got, we have to run, or they have to run the line from that Charleston to the, Hermanson to the south up to us. Yeah. And we'll have them probably bury it from the right of way up through to the transformer. Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that, my board really would love to have, local contractor and local subcontracting and all that as much as possible for future maintenance and work.
Question?
I see you've got a new position budgeted.
Yeah. I look back and it's been, our board discussed it last year at this time. They decided to wait a year. And we had probably a 2-hour conversation about it at our last board meeting about whether to add a position. It's been 25 years since we've added staff out there. We've increased the seasonal help, but we have not increased our full-time staff. And when I came on in '89, we had myself and a half-time naturalist, and then that became a full-time position in about '93 or so. And then we hired the roadside person or the natural resource manager in '95. So it's been over almost 25 years. And if you look around this, especially in North Iowa, for example, there's I think there's 2 counties out of our district, and actually some of them aren't even in our district, that have the Hancock County, Emmett County has 2 people, but they have 300 acres and half a dozen parks. Hancock County has 3. They have about a third, maybe a fourth as many acres in areas that we manage. Bremer County has 7, Cerro Gordo 9, Mitchell County has 8, Worth County has 5, and most of those don't have a roadside person either. So yeah, and one of the things that the board had talked about, we have some revenue sources. We have REAP to help supplement at least part of the cost. I've got REAP, special projects funds, revenue generated from our cabins and campgrounds. We also have a wind farm, Good Neighbors Agreement on the Quam and the Deering Tract on 268 acres. And that will bring in, supposed to start this spring, they told us, $6,700 a year for 35 years, I believe is what.
That's for what now?
That was, they called it their Good Neighbors program or agreement.
Oh,
Not to put a wind turbine on our wildlife area. Okay, we weren't going to put a wind turbine on our wildlife, or we couldn't because they're in WRP. But that didn't matter to them.
But it's close enough.
It's close enough to where their farm is, their wind farm is, so they, so that was,
Kind of a residual payment.
pardon me?
Kind of a residual payment.
I guess for the impact that, I don't remember how close, right now, there's nothing right next to us, I don't know.
They talked about it, if you have a house that's near it but not on your property, they would give you.
Yeah, I know they have a map, and I don't think they actually showed it to us, but they said that those 2 areas, the Deering Tract and was that's a mile away from Quam, and so we let the county attorney look it over, and NRCS had to kind of sign off on it too, because it's another agreement on top, but we already have a WRP easement on that property, and which would restrict us from doing this anyway, from doing anything on that property, but
It doesn't restrict you from drawing any income off.
no, it wouldn't, as long as it didn't try to supersede what WRP, what,
It's like $20 an acre.
25.
20.
And then they gave us a pre-construction, they gave us a small payment of 20-some hundred this last, in 2019. Yeah.
So this new position would be doing what?
Well, it would be, they'd be doing work on our wildlife areas. I've got just a little kind of a cheat sheet of fun facts of what we've got on what we deal with on a regular basis. So that person would also be involved in the roadside program, right? And we're going to cut back on our seasonal help to maybe 2 if we can do that. And as you can see, when I first came, we had 850 acres in '89. One of the numbers that jumps out there, we have over 70 miles of borders to maintain on our wildlife areas boundaries. And as we know, we get encroached on once in a while, and we just dealt with that issue. It took 4 years to resolve it. But so I'm just kind of going down the list there of areas that need attention on a fairly regular basis. And so the person, when they're not working the roadside program, which the roadside program, our spraying is end of May to middle of August. And a lot of times what happens, we send the crew out and by late morning, the wind comes up and they have to quit. So we put them to work on our wildlife areas and parks, trails, and that type of thing. So unless it's pouring down rain for 2 days, occasionally we'll send the seasonals home, but we've usually got plenty of work for them to do. So, and as I mentioned, most of the counties on this list that I looked at, as far as the staffing, there's only 1, 2, 3 of them that actually have any involvement, or 4 of them that have any involvement with roadsides. And the rest of them are just managing their wildlife areas and parks. And this was all, I'm kind of not even really including the nature center as far as added work, which there will be some. We have a target and trap range that are utilized. The target range is utilized year round. And we actually go up there, and somebody goes up there at least once a week and does some maintenance on it.
Do they take care of that themselves pretty much?
Pardon me?
Do the shooters keep that thing okay?
For the most part, yeah. We've got locals that kind of police it, help that way. But we still have to go up there and change out the backstops and empty the trash and those types of things. So it's usually a couple hours a week. We've got half a dozen ponds that we maintain access to, and aerators and driveways, parking lots. The campground, we mow at Thorpe Park. The other 3 areas we've hired out for a number of years now to do some mowing, and that saves us a lot of windshield time, and I think it saves us expense, wear and tear on our mower. Our WRP easements and EWP easements have added, requirements that we have to maintain trees, and we know that's one of the issues. I think right now, it's kind of hard to send one person out with a chainsaw and say, go take care of those trees, and got a safety issue, when you're by yourself with a chainsaw off in a wildlife area. So at least when you get 2 people out there, it'll be safer and a little more effective. Equipment maintenance. We've got a lot of pieces of equipment we maintain ourselves for the most part. We've got 50 driveways or access points, parking lots, 7 miles of access roads that we maintain. The trail east of town here, mowed trails on some of our wildlife areas. The trap range, that's pretty low maintenance. We do, though, offer public shooting. So Rick Lilly will go up there usually at least once a week in the evening, and we advertise this ahead of time. We have public trap shooting, and then of course we have the 3 teams that shoot out there: the Lake Mills, the North Iowa teams, and then the 4-H'ers shoot as well throughout the summer into the fall. The cabin, that all takes time. So and I haven't put together a job description yet, but this position wouldn't be filled until after July 1st. But it will encompass. It's going to be a pretty broad description, and some of it will be, part of it will be roadsides, the rest of it will be helping to manage our wildlife areas and recreation areas. Maybe even a little environmental ed thrown in there. But, we've got the Winnebago River Trail. That's 27 miles of river, and that thing, it's amazing how much use. You don't always notice it, but there's people coming from all over to canoe the Winnebago River. So we have several access points, 4 access points we maintain.
So, where are all the revenues coming from?
Yeah, it's here. At the bottom there is some of the potential revenue sources that we could utilize for part of it. I mentioned the REAP. Right now, we just got our checks in for last year for REAP of just under 10,000. And if the 1 cent sales tax gets approved, that could double, because that would potentially mean full funding for REAP, which it's never been funded fully across the state. But REAP is the Resource Enhancement and Protection Fund that was started created in 1988, I believe now. And back when we first hired a naturalist, we used REAP dollars to pay half of her salary and expenses. So REAP, special projects like the fund, we've got about a dozen things under the special projects fund, and a number of them generate revenue. The cabin, the campgrounds, and that's not necessarily the total amount of revenue that's generated. The wind farm, that is the actual 6,700. So between REAP and the others, there's over potentially $20,000 of the cost, and as you know, I mean, if it was just the salary, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but the benefits is really where we get hit on the added expense. But and we currently with FICA included, for our conservation budget and our roadside budget, we've got about $29,000 of expenditures right now. We've got about a budget of about 27,000, a little over 27,000 for seasonal help right now. So we lower that to about 6,000, what our plan is. So our revenue wouldn't necessarily cover all of it, but it would cover, just about, not quite, about half of it, I guess.
You have different guys doing the roadside spraying.
Well,
You know,
what we
usually
try
get the
to,
same guys, or
pardon me?
you usually get the same guys?
Well, you always try to. When we get seasonal help, if we can get them to come back a couple, 2-3 years, that's great. But so often we get some newbie that's never done it before.
Well,
And
there have been some complaints about the fact that they're just not getting sprayed right or whatever, that they aren't dying.
yeah, well, that part, there is a time lag. So with the chemical we use, sometimes it takes about a week to 10 days, but it does kill them. But in the last couple of years, last 3 years, we've had pretty much the same people back, except for there was one kid.
Rick Reynolds, one of them, right?
No, Rick just came out for a few weeks this year.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that was the first time we'd ever used Rick. He just drove the truck. He wasn't a certified applicator. We've had I can think of 3. Well, one of them had graduated from Iowa State, another one from Iowa Lakes that we used that knew the program, so they knew what to do. But every once in a while they miss things. I mean, it happens, and they either haven't grown up high enough, or maybe they just didn't see it for whatever reason. But yeah, it's never ending, so it's always there, and there's always something to spray. And Rick is in one of the trucks always, so he's trying to keep tabs on the other vehicle as well, so the other truck. But we actually don't get very many complaints, and I know I'll check with you guys over the year, and very seldom. Usually we know kind of who it will call on a regular basis, and we haven't even had those folks call in a number of years. So
And I've had a couple of them talking about some that they're filthy with trees in the ditch.
Yeah, we kind of rotate, so we know that they get a little growth on them, and we try to get at least every 3 years if we can. Or we have situations where we've got some organic guys that say, well, we're gonna take care of it, and then they don't. I know one stretch south of Thompson there on Thorlands, and Dave was one of my board members for years, and they would get to them sometimes, some years, and other years, we just finally said, we're gonna go do it. And we try to, keep the chemical back from their crops, obviously, but,
So you guys don't do you manage anything if you have a tree on somebody's property that's getting in?
well, they will, and I've talked to Scott about this too, how they deal with trees that are hanging over, but if they've got something that's hanging over almost to the roadside edge or out in the middle of the road ditch, we'll burn it back with some chemical. But if it's a tree on their property, on their side of the line, then it's not an issue for the road, we don't touch it because they're not licensed to spray on private property. Or you get the case where you sprayed that something and next thing you know, that was their favorite tree. And I know Don Reefer told me one time, they talked to a landowner about taking down a tree up by Pilot Knob, and the guy said, go ahead. And it ended up costing them like $5,000. They just had to settle out of court, so. We haven't had any of those kind of issues, but, yeah, it's, and then they try to stay away from, obviously from gardens and ornamental trees, and they gotta watch the wind, of course. And, because we're spraying a broadleaf type chemical that's gonna kill, or set back their trees. It's certainly gonna scorch their gardens if we get too close. So, yeah. And the revenue that I use or would potentially use is not included in the totals here. So the overall expense will be the same, but the revenue source, like in my conservation and roadside budget, it's showing it budgeted there, but we would actually be taking the revenue from these other sources. So that should actually go down. I'd have to get together with Carta and see how we would want to do it. So we're not taking money out of 5 different places, and it makes it a little bit harder to keep track of. But, and my board meets next Monday. They'll hopefully finalize the budget next Monday morning. But this is what they've seen at our last meeting.
Now, were you applying for a CAT grant?
For the Nature Center. Yeah, that was part of the conversation at our last meeting with the architect. If we applied for a CAT grant, well, the earliest we can apply, we found out, again now, is May. We can submit the application for a July review. But if we would have gone forward in January with the bid letting and started expending more money between now and when the CAT grant was approved, we would lose 20 cents on the dollar anything that we expended. So if we wait, because it's up to 20% we can apply for. So we would probably apply for about $250,000. It all depends where, actually our bids won't come in probably till after we've applied because we want to get on the next cycle. But we can lower our request, we can't increase it. So if we apply for 250, and let's say that's 20%, and our bids come in lower, we can back off the CAT grant, but we can't add to it. So we'll try to maximize our potential there. But and I've talked with Joe Myrie too about maybe working with us on the grant application. But so we decided not to take bids in January. We'll do it in July and submit that application, which would cover.
As part of that application, are they going to be requiring that a government entity also donate?
That's what I'm told. Now, when I was asking, I don't know if I asked Joe this or not, but I think I asked somebody in economic development here. They said, well, the county has to contribute money. I said, well, the county is. We've got money. The Conservation Board is contributing money. And their view of that was, well, what's the Board of Supervisors contributing? And I said, well, to this point, we have not ask for any specific money. So I don't know, I'm gonna find out this, before too long, if it has to be a set dollar amount, let's say it's 5,000, I don't know what it would ever be. Or if it's the fact that, our operational costs will be budgeted and there's a contribution there, but I'm not sure yet, so we'll see. You would think that if the conservation board is contributing money, then, that is the county, so. And that's not, I'm not talking about the money that's being raised necessarily. We had money in our conservation trust fund that's being used, so. But I'll be finding that out, and we're talking about maybe having NICOG help us with the application. I looked at it, and I could probably do it, but I know Joe and those guys do them all the time. He pretty much indicated if you have a good project, you might have to go back to them a number of times to answer questions and go through the hoops and all that, but he said you should get it funded. So we're pretty optimistic. And then we talked about the USDA grant and loan, and I'm not sure if we're going to do that one yet or not. That one's up to $50,000 in a loan, $50,000 grant, but they suggest that you apply for a loan to increase your chances of getting the grant, but you can turn down the loan. So I'm not really sure why
We've
it
been
is.
through the USDA process. It's not a quick thing.
I've seen the application. It's
It's not a quick thing.
yeah.
The process itself.
Yeah.
And then even after we were done, she wanted different paperwork from me, and I bet I sent her, 10 different things before she was like, yeah, that's what I want.
Oh yeah.
But we only went for the loan part of it. We
Yeah.
called it a grant loan where it was a revolving loan fund.
Yes,
We were
yeah.
done with it.
That's what I was told too. We were I was looking at that last fall, and then I just have kind of put that one aside.
And maybe if somebody like Heartland Power or the WCTA was doing it, maybe this time around is a lot quicker. But it was the first time WCTA had done one when we got it.
Were you dealing with somebody out of Fort Worth?
No, I just dealt with the gal at WCTA.
Oh, no, I was dealing
Because
directly.
they were the ones actually, they were
Oh,
the
okay.
agent on it.
I was dealing directly with somebody over in, it's either Algona or Fort Dodge, I don't remember now. A guy that,
With USDA,
USDA, yeah.
Humboldt.
Yeah, maybe it was Humboldt, yeah, that sounds,
Humboldt and Iowa Falls, and, yeah.
yeah, I know Cassuth County, when they put up their nature center, they'd sent me an example or a copy of their application packet, and it was a lot going on there.
Did you apply for a grant from like the casino thing over there?
Yeah, we got a grant early on, a year ago in November, and they paid for the septic system. But when you're out of county, they'll do like one project in the surrounding counties, adjacent to Worth. And you have to have multiple bids. It has to be done within 12 months of when the application, or when their grant is approved. So we ran ours right up to the last week because of the timing of things. But I know, I've talked to Deb over there, Hanson, and we're probably gonna submit another one. I don't know if we'll do it this next cycle, which is like now, might wait till this summer, and submit a grant application possibly for furnishings. Tables, chairs, desks.
So we were gonna submit a grant for the roof.
Yeah, once it's approved, it has to be done in 12 months. So that's the kind of thing they like to do, but they do them all primarily inside the county. Every church and whatever has got a new roof or new carpet or new furnace in Worth County. Yeah. What's that?
Or new road.
New roads, new parks. They have been very generous
That's a third account.
in their county. Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your time.
Did you leave him in a good mood?
And I did. And actually, I didn't hold you up. That wasn't me. That was Carla.
And we got to sit through an unexpected phone call. But
I know when you're talking to Joe, it could go a while.
Uh-huh.
That's a good guy.
Yeah, thanks.
This is under Andy Taylor.
Barney.
I got my bullet in my pocket.
No name calling.
I like
Well, I guess I started.
So what's your feel for the operations of the facility now?
Well, quite honestly, I think things are running really smooth. We had some hiccups when we first opened. We had a lot of complaints from a couple of the cities, but primarily Forest City, because of the county line difference, and but those things are worked out.
County line.
Well, 4 cities in both counties. And when we first opened, we did not have an agreement with Hancock County at all. So what Rick said is, we'll take Hancock County prisoners as long as we have the authority from the sheriff, or at least one of the deputies is willing to step up to the plate. And that was, so when Forest City arrested somebody down at Greenfield Estates or something, they couldn't authorize us to hold, so it got pretty ugly for a while. Barney came out and visited with me, and he understood it. Barb Smith came out and visited with me, and she understood it. And under the old jail, we never had an issue, but under the new facility, we were trying to do it right, and that grated on some people's nerves, and understandably so. If I'd have been on that side, I'd have been just as frustrated as they were. So, but now things are running really well.
Now that you put increases in the health insurance?
Well, we're not sure we did it right, but we're hoping,
So I'm looking at, there's one here that went down.
health insurance.
Probably based on,
I don't know if we did the health insurance or not.
I think I did it.
I was gonna say, I think you,
I
or
think
maybe
I did
gonna,
the FICA anti-FERS and the health insurance and,
well, I'm looking at the actuals on page 19 for one instance here. 11,300 is the line. You got actuals of 22,240. The request is 45,000. That's not much of an increase. Should that have been higher?
We don't have that budget. We must have grabbed the wrong one. Or we don't have the
actual.
This is under general supplemental.
Yeah, we found the line, but
And then up above, another line, actuals of, I think it's another line in the same department, or same part of the general supplemental. Another one is actuals of 23, that one shows some increase. Another one is actuals of 64, and there's a real good increase there of 58, so maybe the overall average comes out.
well, there's probably a reason why I did what I did, but I don't know it right now.
Okay. Just want to make sure we cover ourselves.
I can just circle it and go double check it. I might have,
Just look and see if there's other places that makes up for it. How are you doing with food preparation? You got a pretty good relationship with Hy-Vee now?
yes,
or
yep.
What's it costing us per?
It's costing us the same as it did when Bill's had it. They didn't raise the prices, about $5 a meal. So they honored our contract with, Bill, that we had with Bill.
Leave it there, or you go get it.
We gotta go get it. Which we did with Bill's also.
What's your, numbers been averaging then for population?
We're running right around 18 to 20. Our high was, I think 29. I don't know that we broke 30, but we ran 29 for a couple days. And actually, if you had an overall average, you'd probably have 25, 26. But right now, it's running, this last week or so, it's been about 15 or so.
How many of that is Hancock?
Hancock County right now, I think, is running, I think there's 11 from Hancock County in there. Out of our 17 or 16, whatever.
So,
It actually, again, if you went over a long-term average, it's probably 50-50.
I would guess it.
and,
Well, they have a little higher population, a little more activity down there, you would think.
No, we have actually,
Slightly
we
higher.
actually have more activity than they do down there.
But it just would seem like it because they have a few more people, but, yeah, no, it's,
we just go by New York rules then?
just let them go without a bond, you mean,
Yeah.
no matter what they did.
So like the ones that are from our county, are we able to get, reimbursement from them?
We are working at reimbursement, we're constantly working at reimbursement. When we hold for Hancock County, that's guaranteed income, but we're constantly working on reimbursement from our people. There's a couple in the works that were actually some high dollar figures. We had a guy that we were taking to the hospital probably 2 or 3 times a week with seizures. And, we're working on trying to get money back from him right now.
For the care he was given too, or just the housing?
That is causes, no, for everything, for the medical and housing, both.
So now if a person like that has insurance,
We always go through insurance first.
go through the insurance.
So always do that
Well,
first.
once you're in jail, the insurance company says, no, you're the counties or
I think Social Security does that. I don't know that insurance can. I don't know that, but,
what is it?
we're always, everything goes through insurance first.
Social Security or Medicare?
I'm sorry, Medicare.
But unfortunately, most people who break laws probably don't have insurance.
Yeah. Or, and this guy he was a long-term prisoner, so then he lost his job, so then he didn't have insurance. He had insurance to a point and then he lost it, so.
The computer equipment you got in your budget, is that car, computers and stuff?
Yes,
That's all, that's no infrastructure in the building, right?
right.
Yeah.
So we had a question with communications yesterday. There was a proposal to do some testing, extra testing to test their system. Whether it's how it can be hacked or if they have a proper backup system or things like that. And it was, God, what was it?
2,000.
Yeah,
Say it
15,000
was
altogether.
base 15.
We were questioning, is that something that is there a value to it, or is it should have,
What are the odds of being hacked?
you know,
It's,
are you guys being proposed with that from them too, or
From NGT?
is there not much of a threat there?
I don't know if there's a threat or not. Carl, I remember that day I came in and talked to you about, somebody had contacted, I don't even remember how that all played out. Somebody had called me and said, we can't change your direct deposit bank to another bank. And, somebody was trying to change from MPT to another bank. And I got a reply from Carla, and it said, Carla says, you can't do that without a hard copy signature of the whole works, And, so I went in and I said, I'm not trying to do that, this is something somebody else is trying to do. And Carlos, so the foolproof thing was, they weren't gonna do it without, you know, a signature on a piece of paper, you know. But as far as not being able to be hacked, I don't know that anybody can say that in this day and age, I don't know.
It sounds like they're gonna hire some company that's gonna come in or either that or they do it themselves. And then they're gonna try and hack into your system to see if they can.
Protect you from ransomware
And
and
then,
things
and
like
then,
that.
What-
and then
Shouldn't
find.
NGT be doing
Well,
that for us
that's what
anyway?
Why are they
would think
charging
that that's-
extra?
Right,
That is their job, is to make sure that this system is unhackable. And I don't know if this is something that helps them find flaws in the system, so they can make it that way, but
Do you utilize the same server as they do, or you're?
Yes, no,
I think it's all the same.
but
So maybe they're just billing it through.
the state of Iowa tried that 6 or 8 months ago. They sent several guys, and they were checking security systems throughout the county, throughout the state. And they got caught down in Dallas County, and Dallas County says, you know, this is our get out of jail free card. Dallas County says, no, it ain't, you know, and then the Supreme Court justices, somebody said, yeah, we shouldn't have done it the way we did. So I don't know if this is a state thing or what, but
it just makes you nervous that people
Yeah.
are trying to, you know, what is their real intent?
Yep.
You know? Unfortunately, there are people in government that you can't trust.
well, you know, our building is a standalone building, but there's constantly people in it, you know, and there's cameras and whatnot. Whereas the courthouse, if they made access into the courthouse, there's not anybody here until, the next morning. And there's cameras and stuff, but they're not monitors, they're just recording, you know, so. And that's, you know, part of the issue too, I think.
So if you do end up needing another staff, then you'll have to amend accordingly then with in and out monies?
Yep.
You'd rather do it that way,
What's that?
amend, instead of just simply putting it in the budget? Or you don't know yet.
That's right. Now, I don't wanna just put it in there and,
And there's still time to adjust the budget.
yeah,
If
if,
that comes to be
yeah, if this,
in the next month or so.
Yeah, gotcha.
But if it comes in 3 months, it's a little late.
well, hopefully we'll know more Wednesday,
Of what their intent is.
what their intent is, yeah.
So you plan on, every year, you just plan on replacing one vehicle then?
Well, you know, it's something I was gonna talk to you about, not necessarily here, but at a board meeting sometime, because, you know, before we were doing it one a year, and now we've got more guys, so, you know, stretching it out to 7 or 8 years, that's a long time for an emergency vehicle. So what I was thinking about doing is, and again, I was gonna bring it up at a board meeting, but, we have rural basic and then we have the general basic, and just taking a vehicle out of each one of them and getting 2 cars a year instead of, so then you'd be back down to that 3 or 4 year thing instead of 7 or 8 year thing. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not.
Now, have you also used the prisoner money per vehicle this year?
This year, yes, yep. We just came from Kelsey's office and we're trying to get a better line on that because we've gotten a lot of money from Hancock County and we don't have a lot of things to spend it on. So I'm gonna check with other sheriffs and she's gonna check with the AG's office and find out.
Interpretation,
Yeah,
kind of one of those gray areas.
yep.
You can't use it just for the general budget.
No,
No, and it's pretty specific. That's why it's, you know,
It is just slightly different when you're, taking care of someone else's.
Who's the
I
oversight?
would think just simply that you have to transport them here.
what's that?
Yeah, you gotta transport them from there up to here.
Yep, and that's,
I would think that would qualify right there.
and it does for the one vehicle, but I'm trying to do it,
So
you know,
just get a
for
new vehicle
several
for
years.
that purpose, and then pass on that vehicle the next year.
There's a thought, yeah.
Yeah.
well, the other thing that we used to do was pay court security out of that. So that could be another place where,
Transfer.
Yeah, but courthouse security in the grand scheme of things is $15 an hour, 6 or 7 hours a week for 8 months, you know, when Dan's around. When he goes south, then Mike or I pick it up, you
Yeah,
know.
you're around here too.
And Mike or I pick it up, but, you know, that's just part of our salary, whereas Dan, we pay him out of there, you know what I'm saying? It's a pain in the butt for us.
Well-
You know, we try and get,
I don't know why you couldn't put a bill in for that.
well, we probably could, I just thought
The
maybe,
Secondary road does, when,
it'd be a bookkeeping nightmare, but
That's why we have the best.
would it be or not?
what? I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, when, like Dan, we pay Dan $15 an hour. Okay, so if Mike or myself come in and do courthouse security when Dan is gone, and our rate is, it's $25 an hour. And do we put in a bill to you for that 20?
What I would think that you could do, and maybe, but the months when Dan is gone, you could do 25% of your salary out of that, and 25, or 75 out of general basic.
Okay. Okay. We did, I just didn't know for sure how we should do that without being a,
So the oversight police on this is the external auditor, right?
Yep,
well, it must pass, because that, we do that to secondary road, so.
okay.
So what would that be, how much would that take care of, dollar wise?
Well, if we do 75% or 20, so we take 25% out of the prisoner account, and lower ours 25%.
Is that with benefits? The salary plus benefits?
yeah, it would be the whole works.
So you're looking over 100,000 salary benefits for him, right? So 30,000 would come out of
Yeah.
prisoner. What percentage, can he do those things with? How does that break down again? Of the revenue coming in?
Well, that would take care of it.
No, I'm just saying the revenue that comes in from board prisoners. Part of it can go towards the
General,
general, and part of it has to be used on prisoners, which is what we're doing here.
yep,
So what are those breakdowns?
what is it?
50-50?
No, general budget gets 40%,
Okay.
and we get
60-40.
60%.
Okay. So, and I'm looking at revenues here, 2019 actual was almost 96,000. Plus your commissary, is commissary stuff separate?
Yes,
Okay, so it's just the board of prison. So if you figure 60% of that, you're talking, 56,000 or so can be used.
Well, that 90 might be the 40% already. Is that correct,
what's
Carl?
in Fund 35, the Board of Prisoners account is just the 60%.
Oh, okay, so, all right, so there's another 2/3 of that, so another 60-some thousand somewhere else. Okay.
doing on that?
Huh?
Page,
Page 15,
yeah.
14, I'm looking at. Is there another one? Oh, here's board of prisoners.
board prisoners is Fund 35.
Okay, well, what's this one up above? Prisoner room and board in general basic.
That would be the,
Is
That would
one
be
from
the-
Hancock and one from
No.
here?
no, that's the general basic, that's the 40%. Down in
Oh,
Fund
okay.
35, that's the 60%.
All right, so, yeah, 142 and 95, so yeah, it was almost 240,000 or 230,000 that year. So, yeah, there'd be enough room in there to, if we can somehow get one vehicle out of that every year.
Well, we can't.
What?
Because it can only be used for the jail.
Right.
So you can only take one vehicle out of there
For the jail.
for the jail.
And that's why you need to,
So what Terry is saying is buy a car, let the jail use it for a year, and then switch it out to a duty vehicle.
I think you're,
Well, if they're getting a new car for,
We want the best for our prisoners.
yeah. We
We don't want
I
to
think that
break
we-
down.
They have a much longer commute than they used to have.
When it goes out of warranty, you don't want a problem.
That's
the
right.
charging back,
Do you want to be
It's gonna
driving
take
when it
care
breaks
of
down?
in my thinking.
What's that?
The charging back, your 25%
Mm-hmm.
will take care of at least a half a vehicle.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, that's an awesome idea. I never gave that a thought.
because you could take Dan's out when he's here and then
Mhm.
use yours.
Yep.
One of you guys is for,
So what do we have in that fund now that hasn't, their balance?
that's a good question. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Where'd you come up with 240,000?
Well, you add this 142 and the 95s, 970
Where's your 142?
down here. Yeah, I'm talking
That's
2019.
actuals. Well, I was-
Actuals
I
in
was going-
2018.
Okay, I'm going off pretty
Kind
fast.
of, yeah, we're shooting low there. We're hoping the whole world goes good and we don't have to arrest anybody.
Well, that's a figure we better use.
That one.
Yeah, the 100,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just being,
Conservative that way.
Yeah.
well, but if we have a huge balance built up, you know, we can use out of that fund. I mean, it's not like we're gonna short it.
See what's up there.
Yeah.
That's what we've got in the Board of Prisoners Fund right here.
That's the balance.
Yep.
Okay. So that, yeah, about $250,000, that's about 1 year's worth there. So what have we been using it for?
It actually hasn't been used hardly at all. We have, we bought
You
a,
said you built that building back here, didn't you?
But that was from that.
that was from,
balance.
that was before the new
Yeah.
facility.
Yeah, yeah,
So you drew it completely down almost then.
Yep,
yeah.
yep. And we've bought some, we bought a computer or two for the jail, staff.
Are you taking one salary out of there now, or?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we need to start dispersing some of this balance into some
Well,
of the salaries and,
And that's what I'm talking to Kelsey about and trying to figure out how to, yeah, going back to that 25%, like you said, that is an awesome idea. But we're trying to figure out some other way to start utilizing that money, because it's crazy not to be using it. I mean, it's crazy to use taxpayer money when you got that kind of money, if we can figure out a way to do it without stepping on anything.
But I don't think we should use that 238 figure. I think we should use the,
no, we're,
for budgeting.
right. We just know that that's there right now.
Right,
We're not
lock
gonna
her out.
short ourselves.
No, I'm sorry, I'll get
If nobody's in jail, we're covered.
You already did drainage.
We're not talking about drainage.
Okay, then you come in.
yet. Let's get to. This is the balance in the prisoner fund.
Sure is, yep.
You do that.
I do these, yep.
We're just we're going through things that we can utilize this funds for without taxing people.
Right. And I don't know the answers to those.
But we're working on it. We got Kelsey working on it.
Okay, good. Yeah, by code, I don't know what you can and can't use for, so.
So hopefully we can lower the levy a little bit by drawing a little bit out of here. And still get things done that you need to get done. I guess on the expenditure side, I think you're probably where you have to be. I think you should be replacing the truck as long as we can get some money out of there. Probably not an entire car, but
Yeah,
fill it back.
That it can only be used to benefit the prisoners, is that what it is?
and infrastructure, kinds of things that benefit the prisoners. And so I was talking to Kelsey about meals, I was talking to her about
Yeah, so I was saying clothing,
clothing, all that stuff.
all that
And
stuff.
she's,
Think that you'd
checking
be able
on
to
it.
use it for that, because that
Because
is a benefit.
we're spending $95,000 a year on their food.
yeah, we should be able to, yeah. And the same way with staff. Staff is a benefit to the prisoners also,
Yeah.
So, but that's one of the things that we're checking on. I'm checking with local sheriffs to see how they did it. Mitchell County built a new jail probably 12, 15 years ago. Cassuth County built one not too terrible long. Cerro Gordo's isn't that old, so we'll see what some of the other local sheriffs have done. But I don't wanna,
Yeah, it's on there.
You don't want to go beyond what allowable.
well, I don't wanna go with, but, yeah, and I don't wanna say that this is what we're thinking about doing and raising red flags.
No.
I wanna be able to say, this is how we can do it,
This is how we, yeah, we'll find out the legal ways to do it.
Exactly.
That's all we
Yeah.
have to do.
Yeah, I'm not trying to cheat anybody, because it would certainly be a benefit to our people here.
But there's no
Well, to
In
sense.
the
me,
county.
however you can lower the cost to the taxpayer,
Right.
you have to pay for those who don't obey the laws.
We get it.
You should be able to do it.
We
Yep,
get it all the
absolutely.
time from
Should.
them.
Yeah.
Why are we paying for the prisoners'
Yep.
shortfalls? I mean, they need to be paying their own.
It already, well, look at the size of the budget, I mean, that's what it costs.
Yep.
To take care of people who take care of themselves.
So anyway, that is our hope, that we can figure out a way to do that without getting in trouble for it, I guess.
I don't think our external auditors would let you get away.
I don't think Elizabeth would either.
That's what I said, that they're the oversight police.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's really truly what you want anyway,
Oh, for sure.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
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 So,
Not like calling the external auditor and asking them, can they tell you what you can do with it? I mean,
Yeah, I'd be
I would
better
assume
with
that
Kelsey,
they've run
because they're
into
not,
that.
It
They're not
depends on
there
how
to
you
be
ask it too.
Is that?
What's that?
Depends on how you word it.
Elizabeth?
yeah,
Elizabeth, she's sharp as a tack.
Oh, yeah, but she's not an attorney, so she wouldn't want to give us,
Yeah.
I bet there's attorneys who wish they were sharp.
I lost my inhaler.
oh, it's over by my desk.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a sweetheart.
No, I didn't know it until Colleen said, whose inhaler is this? And I'm like, I don't know. So,
Okay. I've been
it's
fighting
by
it.
that copier.
Thank you.
Yep.
'Cause I was gonna have to go back and get another.
You just left it right there.
I see you're covering yourself in fuels for when we are at war.
Say that again?
Well, actuals on fuel in this one area, what department that is part of the savings, that'd be under general basic. Actuals have been 28,000. We got 42 last year, 42 this year, just in case the price goes up.
Exactly what it is all about too,
Yeah, they're talking about it's gonna spike today because.
is, somebody said it already has gone up.
Has it?
Yeah, somebody said this morning it's already gone up.
You know, but that's the way it is over there. People keep rattling their sabers until something's done, and then as soon as something's done, then all the speculators speculate that World War III is coming, and goodness, I think it was just time they wanted to raise prices sometimes.
Well, they're saying this morning, the amount of oil that's not gonna come out of Iran, if this does come to fruition, is not that much.
No,
They can manufacture it, but they can't sell it.
and besides that, we've become the biggest producer in the world anyway in the last few
Yeah.
years, so it's,
Would you feel more comfortable if you knew what your cost was gonna be? For the budget, for the fuel? Yeah.
If I knew it wasn't gonna go over,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah.
Yeah. I educated myself a lot, right? And if anybody knows what he's doing, he does. And, he says, as far as savings even, he says if you contract in February, he said, I have never made less than 5%. So, but not even using it as a tool to try to make money, you know. You can lock it in so you know where you're gonna be.
Okay. I remember talking about contracting fuel prices a couple years ago, and one of the things back then was we buy fuel across the board, like we buy it from Five Star,
That's right.
you know, and Buffalo Center, and,
Plus when we take people to Iowa City or whatever,
yeah.
we buy it all over.
This is, yeah, just putting enough in this. You're covered.
and usually by the time you hit the ups and the downs of the market, buying it at the pump, it's usually fairly close, because if you contract it, you're locked into that price, and then when the prices go down, your contracted price is higher than what's at the pump. It's, I mean, I've gone through that for years running my truck,
It's a wash.
you know.
Yeah, it-
Contracting isn't trying to make money. It's
I
just,
know,
so you lock in.
It is a tool to tell you what your cost is gonna be.
So do you utilize like the card from the co-op here?
Mhm.
Okay, so you get the discount there.
And the same way in Scarborough with Five Star, and the same way in Buffalo with AK&H, yeah.
Yeah, they got a 5 or 6 cent a gallon discount for their card.
And then pretty soon, I think Thompson will, once they get their
I don't
new
know why
pumps
it's
up,
taking
Oh,
them so
we'll be able to
yeah,
fill there
yeah,
too.
Is it because they have to switch their equipment over?
They order new pumps, I think,
Yeah,
as soon as their
they
new
have to
pumps
switch
are
it over
in,
before they can do that.
Yeah. So that'll be nice too.
Well, that's all the questions I have.
Okay,
All right, thanks.
thank you. I'm on the way to your office.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yes,
don't forget
don't
it
forget
again.
it.
I just had to buy my daughter a new one because she couldn't find it.
Jenny and Cindy are late.
I think Cindy was out in the hall, Denny's in Florida.
Really like that.
I don't think he's gonna make it.
Calls. I'm guessing Cindy now.
Does she have an agenda up here at all, or?
She did, but it's, yeah, that was probably just when we were talking to Joe. We had other things that were up there.
I thought we had some clips in here. Can you go get me a clip?
Like a binder clip or a paper clip?
Yeah, binder clip. I'd like to take this out. My rings are all bent up. Go ahead and try. Yeah, just a second here.
Didn't hurt.
I'm still taking it out. Man.
I didn't know what she needed, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Got plenty of binders.
Slide out of there, while I both cover shirt off.
What time's the next one?
11.
11? Got a few minutes.
Nope, 10:30 to 11 was Veterans Affairs.
You just can't see long distance? You can read without these?
Yep.
So now as soon as Terry comes back, Cindy's in the hallway.
And actually, they're kind of bifocals, or trifocals, whatever they are, they're progressive.
That's it.
My other one's broke, I went back to wearing my old ones, but then they got broke. And, so I just started wearing these for your pay for them, but I still use them. But, you know, I mean, I could read the clock, but I can't read the writing. Actually, the last two times I've had my driver's license, the first time in my life, I could get driving lessons. Really? My distance vision has actually got better.
Morning.
Morning. I need to introduce myself.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I'm Cindy Lehman.
Hi Cindy. Mike Spencer.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Bill Jensel.
Nice to meet you, Bill.
Jim.
And you're still Barney?
I'm still Barney.
Barney.
Last I looked, I got my name tag on to make sure.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's days I wish I had one on to remind myself who I am.
Yeah.
Why was I here?
Yeah.
So since I haven't done your budgeting process, you'll have to try to lead me through what your expectations are or whatever.
First, I gotta find out what department you are.
We are Winnebago County Veterans
I
Affairs.
know what number is
Page
that.
45, they're Department 21.
So basically, what we do is we look at any changes, if there's increases, justification for that,
Mhm.
and so forth.
Well, the budget, there are no changes. Denny Zarin and I cover the office there. Neither one of us, well, I guess he's been there just a year. I started in May, and so until I felt more comfortable having a full year of office and maybe expectations, like I said, there's budget status quo, so no changes from last year.
And I
So,
think the way we did it last year was we increased it to make sure we had more overlap
mhm.
in staff.
So,
Yeah, that's working out real well.
Now, I haven't heard any excitement lately, so it must be going pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I know we were having some issues.
Nope, it's been really, really well since Cindy's on board and they're splitting up the hours and days. And
They've both been very good to work with. Very good.
I have no problem with it. I mean, this was an easy one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really don't have any,
Well,
anything,
there's no changes, so
no
you can't
changes
even scrutinize it.
from prior year, so if you agree with what you did last year, we'll do that again in the future year, and, you know, and after a year, I'll make sure to see where we're at, and, you know, but,
Yeah, some of these items you haven't used yet, but it's one of those you have to have there in case you need it.
right, and I did check with that too, you know, and as we, like I said, our office has kind of been in flux a little bit. People are starting to feel more comfortable with our current staffing situation. And so we are getting a little bit more traffic of people coming through or calling, you know. So as they know that, and I'm getting a good rapport with county social services, you know, too. So, and they're feeling more comfortable. So some of those areas we have to stay there per our policy for budgeted, so.
About the time we get a good rapport with them, we're gonna leave county social services.
I know. I know.
We'll start all over
We
then.
start all over, but
Yeah.
hopefully, you
We
know,
think this one will be easier.
there you go. Yeah,
Well, since 2017, there's been $1 million of Winnebago County money that has gone somewhere else besides Winnebago County.
Oh, yeah, that's outrageous.
We could have done a lot for a lot of people with that money here in our counties, our own schools, and our own people.
right.
And 500,000 of that ended up Blacktop County. Nothing against Blacktop County, I just think they ought to pay for their own.
Yeah, pay for their own, yeah, Waterloo is getting it, we ain't, yeah,
Yeah, so.
that's for sure.
But I have written a couple Iowa Trust Fund grants for dental work or for other things too, so hopefully, and we're probably one of the few that actually brings in, as I write pension money, grants, you know, type stuff, bring in federal dollars to the Veterans Affairs, so.
Excellent.
And we went over,
People with that talent.
So we can do that.
yeah, it's been a good mix. And we've also went over the, handbook, if you wanna call it that, sometime we'll come back to you guys to get that approved.
Yeah, making a few changes within our Veterans Handbook there too.
Don't you have to get that approved with your board?
Yes, but then it has to be approved by you
After.
afterwards. You have to get your stamp of approval on it.
So your policy, if the schools close, we say we close the courthouse, does your office close also? Or how do you work it?
That's, I don't even know if the
'Cause
winter
we're
hours
currently
are,
going through that change.
That didn't apply to them last time because it was like a Monday and they don't have the office on Monday.
right.
So it didn't affect them, I don't think, last year.
Specifically, some of the things that are addressed in our policy goes to the veteran food provisions, medications line, rent, utilities payments that we can give out to, they're not transient veterans, but veterans who are in need. There was a specific dollar amount saying your income could not be over this, and I don't think that had been updated for a long time, and we're looking to do the same thing for utility assistance, rental assistance is what LIHEAP does or whatever, and just doing a percentage of federal poverty guidelines. So that way we don't get stuck with a income amount. Whatever the federal government gives us, here's your income or your poverty guidelines, then we'll give you funding instead of doing a set dollar amount. So to try to follow that, and then you wouldn't have to update your policy manual as often. You just go and pull whatever guidelines are for Winnebago County and follow that, so.
Our board assumed that we would have to bring the changes back to you, maybe we don't have to, somebody might wanna research that, but.
I would think if you're in, it says over an overview, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. So,
Probably not.
If it falls in your budget, I don't think so.
Yeah, budget wise.
What do the conservation, when they do anything like that? do you
All
take care of it?
individual boards are autonomous. As long as we, like today, if we approve the budget, you're with your board.
Yeah.
But what if
In that budget,
in their policy book, they decided to change their vacation? They get to have 8 weeks of vacation or whatever.
I don't know, that's a question for you, probably.
You know what I mean? I'm not
I don't know if
sure.
we can do anything
how
to change that,
far
but
you
what
get
we
to
can
go.
do is control their budget to make it where it's not advantageous.
Right,
Right.
right. I didn't know how far that went.
Yeah, I don't either,
Because
that's why we're asking.
My understanding is that we still fall under Winnebago County Employee Handbook,
There
because
you go.
our commission rules are based for our budget. And one of the examples, I just looked that up today, the handbook, because as being part-time people, I filled out my time card and didn't get any pay last week because of holidays, because part-time people don't get holiday pay,
Right.
you know, so,
But now part-time can accrue vacation.
vacation after a year,
Right, and it's 2 days.
2.5 days a year, so. But that's just, I don't know how many part-time individuals you
I
have,
don't know, because there's nurses and
right?
Conservation's got some.
Mm-hmm,
they're seasonal.
They're seasonal.
Yeah. Communications has some,
mm-hmm.
they're just part-time as is.
Mhm.
as needed.
So that's my understanding, is that is employee rules are separate from our Veterans Affairs. I fall under county employee rules.
I believe so.
I mean, that's why I've been doing it, so,
It's vague.
but,
I think it's vague.
so, anyway, I think
Yep.
everything lines up. So, I don't know, do you have any other questions for Veterans Affairs, I guess? I've been there since May, we were just talking about, I've only been there 6 months, so, I said Denny a year, so.
It's been good. Every time.
You don't yell at me too much when I ask
No.
questions, so.
Nope. They've been really good at, coming in with claims and their explanations, everything's been just, I have no problem.
And if you do, if you have questions, Barney or whatever, feel free to ask,
Usually it's one of the things we end up dealing with is when somebody comes in with a complaint about something.
Yeah,
And we haven't heard anything
that's
in
good.
quite a while, so that means, that means
Other than our discussion yesterday about heroes,
oh, yeah, no, we did discuss heroes yesterday.
that made the radio.
Yeah.
Did it? Is that right? We think that they use that hero term a little loosely.
It's kind of like raising and lowering the flag.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's what it was in regard to, yeah. So, anyway,
Yeah,
but hopefully I can get you back on time so you can get out of here.
You're doing great.
told the council a year and a half or 2 years ago, it seemed like that flag was at half staff all year. And I said, we're just gonna leave it there, and then when somebody important dies, we're gonna raise it.
Yeah,
It was there for a while with the school shootings and all the stuff that was going on.
Right.
Yeah. I just swear it was there at halftime all year.
What's city policy for when, of course, you don't have the burden of the open roads necessarily like we do. You don't have to close the city hall, I suppose, because you're all in town.
Well, no, they're not all in town. And I listened to it on the radio when you guys were talking about it too, and I asked Barb, we need to fine tune our policy a little bit too. Usually the ones that are out of town will take a day of vacation or whatever, but usually City Hall stays open. Very, very rarely does it close. I don't know if they have to use comp time, vacation time, or what they do.
We have such a challenge. We just don't want people feeling like they can come into town because they have work off now, so they're gonna drive into town instead and do their courthouse business.
Yep.
It's not what we want.
No, I listened to it on the radio too, and she's gonna research our policy too. I think Hancock County did too, didn't they?
Yeah, they were talking about it,
Yeah.
because they had never closed the courthouse until this last year, I think was their first.
Yeah.
Oh, Hancock?
Yeah.
And I know that they hadn't so they did close it.
The big one took them out.
All right, like this Ron.
Big storm and 30 below zero.
He would scoff at us closing the courthouse because they never closed there.
Well, I imagine they had to close it let's see, that ice storm one, that was on a Thursday, Friday. Friday, they couldn't have been open.
Yep,
Okay.
sounds good.
Very good, thank you.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if Julie got called, we were running late, but we could call her and she could come in.
We're done, we got it back on track.
Yeah.
Hi.
just like 2 minutes?
Yes, about exactly that.
Got 3? Okay.
Hope you have me start my timer.
I went up, about what we were talking about yesterday. Asked Chris to pull some stuff since Carla was busy. And we found that Eric is paying for Beacon, which he pays quarterly. The total for this past year was $8,125. So a little over.
Pretty close.
Yeah, so that's what that is. You guys, out of the general, had 14,907, which was on those sheets I gave you. That was paid by you, and then of course I paid my share. And there was nothing else.
So we do have an extra 15,000 that was budgeted that we have two different places instead of mapping and GIS.
Oh, you know why? Because we changed some account numbers, and so it might have been in one budget, but we spent it out of another.
But if there's money in both of them,
That
what-
shouldn't have been.
I mean, that shouldn't have been, it should have been a zero, even if there were 2 line items.
Carla didn't see it, and she saw the word and put it in the same account,
Well,
in the wrong account and the right account. That happened.
Cause I've got under general basic, 2 different lines have it in.
Which Judge call you?
In what
Oh.
department?
I took the liberty, since you were busy, to ask Chris to look up that GIS stuff.
Page 75.
That's what I figured out.
What?
Keeling, and I figured out, but rollback.
Yeah, but the rollback can't be that much.
It was 55% to 83 this year.
It's still from,
I'll show you.
okay. Well,
So it's in the,
let me finish this first. Okay, so you guys, any other questions for me?
she's crossing off
Okay.
6,400, but that's not right. So that would be 0.
All right.
She's got it. Yep.
Have a good weekend.
All right, yeah, you
Thank
do.
you. Thanks. So that is already taken care of here. Yep. Yeah, because the 64000 is the wrong
And
number.
then when we went through the data processing budget, in the past, it had gone through their books.
And that could be.
Yeah, on page 71, there was a 14,725, and then there was a 15.
Right, and then we started taking it instead of him. Yep.
Me or no?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I gotta ask her, Clan Chicky, can you look at this one, Ron? Can't remember if you.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, because he did review when we were gone.
Yeah, and he doesn't remember which one it was, so
Yes, yep.
I will look that up. So he's, and I said, I don't know.
Morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Page 52.
Page 52, yep.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, they're having a party out there.
Rockets out there again.
Well, they all just said we're going to the casino, so I said, okay, let's go. I'm game. I just like to people watch.
I mean, the people that are smoking and on oxygen,
I just like to watch them. I
all
think
at the
they're
same
kind
time.
of, yeah, they're just kind of funny. Okay. Which one are we doing?
Expenditures?
Okay.
I see in your health insurance actuals, you're only about a third of what was approved.
For this year?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in the one line item, right? So the one line item.
Yep, and that's in the, out of the general supplement, yep. I think it-
Down and see if there's more that got overdone.
I think it's because, Carla had me figure high for that.
And it looks like if you, like the 3,400 number and the 3040, if you're right on,
Which one?
What page is that?
on our page 52.
Okay, I have that page too, so what?
Okay,
so
so
go down
the
which
health
one?
insurance, the first one you come to that has money, like you've only spent 40 and you budgeted 125.
And the next one
Yep.
down,
And then the next one down, you budgeted 101, but you only spent 25.
Yep.
But you went up in the health insurance on the top one for a request and went down on the other.
Okay, the one is, I think that one went because a nurse changed from single to family. But now this one on the bottom is gonna go up because, no, she did single. Never mind, it's not gonna go up. She did single.
Oh, because the part-time and full-time?
Yep. But she went single, yep.
so do you think?
But that is the county share.
That's right, that is.
So do you think these numbers are still? 20% over that would be 90. That one would be 50, 20% over that would be 10,000.
She had me figure 20%. And I also put, I put in case we get a replacement nurse, and I figured her at family insurance.
Okay.
And then same with, if I had to hire another full-time aide, I figured that person in at family insurance. So that's how I came about those numbers. Do we think the health insurance is gonna go up 20%?
We won't know until after budget's over.
Oh, really?
So we have to plan on it just in case.
'Cause what did we figure last year?
We had a horrible thing.
But I did 15. I think Carla had me figure 15 or 12 or something.
And then it was only 8
Yeah,
by the time it was all
we
done.
got pleasantly surprised. Hopefully it'll be 20 this time, then only be 8 again.
Right.
Well, that's where I was wondering, do we have excess in there? But I guess with your situation, you never know how things are gonna go.
No, because I still have people that still owe me money.
Yeah.
Say how
A
is
lot
the-
of
how is
money.
the MCO reimbursements.
Actually, those are probably better than,
Are you getting straightened out with VA now?
knock on some wood. Yeah, they're still 6 months behind paying me about 50,000. So, but we have now, what they did is they had a middle person and they went to a different company, TriWest. Well, TriWest then said, oh no, we're not paying for med management, IV, wound for these vets. Well, that's what we go out and see them for,
Yeah,
personal cares. So,
what's their justification for not paying for that?
so what we did, it's kind of like the health net scare, remember, that we had before, where they weren't paying us. So now they switched it back to Iowa City, Des Moines, and Omaha. And they are pre-authing all those guys back from July 1 up back, so I can have a pre-auth number, and then I bill directly to Des Moines.
So you don't have to go through TriWest.
No. So the vets that have that still might have a trail, and they still might get things from TriWest saying that this wasn't approved or that wasn't approved. But in the long run, it will get approved, but I have to wait for them. And when last I talked to Kirby before Christmas, he was 4 weeks behind of getting the authorizations done. And he has to do this for all 99 counties. So we're not the only, it's the whole state. It's not just Iowa, it's Minnesota, it's our whole region too. So,
What number do you base your 20% increase on?
for the health insurance,
Yeah.
for what we pay singly, the county pays
No, for
singly.
the budget here.
I actually go off of the actual premium, and then I take that times the 20%, then I take times how many people I have.
We got 2 lines here with health insurance,
One is nurses,
yeah,
and one is, home care aid.
but we don't have the 20%. That's what I'm asking, which number do you take it off the 2020
But you're
approved?
also including in case somebody goes to family.
Yep, exactly.
That doesn't matter. You go off the 2020 approved?
No, I
Let's
call,
go to page 52.
I called Carla and or Chelsea, and I said, what's the premium that the county pays?
Right.
So,
That
yeah,
shouldn't matter on the budget here.
well, yeah, cause I take the 654.48 times 20%.
I-
And that's how you get your 785, so
you're
that's gonna
saying-
go
you're
up that.
saying- You're saying you're only gonna have about a 1.5% increase?
Because it was overinflated last year.
Yeah, cause it was overinflated last year.
Well, from 2020 approved is 125,000, 2021 request is 127. That's about a 1.5 increase.
Oh, I don't go off of that, I go off of the actual premium amount.
Well, I'm looking at the budget cost here.
Right.
So I mean,
And have you built in case they go to a family?
Yes,
Okay. Because if you look at
well, then
the,
that should be more.
so if you look at the actuals, which is halfway.
yeah,
and
actuals
double
is
it, that's
halfway,
80,000,
yeah,
I already got
81,000.
extra
say.
built in there.
yeah,
So, she's estimating about, 50% more than the actuals
because,
in that category.
right, cause this is how, I know
Even
who,
more on the
I know right now who my people are, what they're taking.
I
And I asked,
I understand that, but I mean,
and then I just added
for
it.
us looking at this budget,
Right, if you look at it that way, you're right, it doesn't, and that's what I said, I thought, ooh, that doesn't, because I questioned that too. That doesn't go up quite the 20%.
Well, it's much less until.
Oh, yeah.
You just multiply the 40,000 times 2, and then
Right,
you're up considerably.
so if you take the actual premiums, that's what I did, that we have right now that we're taking. So you actually approved will probably less, that 125.56 probably won't be in there, you know what I mean? You're not gonna use that.
do you have any idea how many are on?
Yep.
Can you give me the breakdown?
I have, in the first line one with the 30/40, there's 4 that are in single and 4 that are on family. And that 4 on family includes, if we have to hire a new nurse.
Then the next one?
The 3,400 is 5 on single and 2 on family. And that 2 includes 1 in case we have to hire another full-time aide. So I actually truly only have 1 on family. And last year, I can't even tell you last year how many I had.
So in the actuals, on the upper line, you had 4 single and 3 family?
On the actual people?
The actual 2020 cost for half the year
No, I was just gonna pull that paper out that I had.
What is family right now, 1,700?
Family is 15,6,414. Last year I actually had 4 and 4 again, but it was actually 4 and 3.
Yeah.
Yep. And the year before that was, for down below was 4 and 3 down below with so. What cost last year for family was 1865. And on the one up above, I did have someone have family and she went down to single for this next coming year. And actually she went partway in the middle of last year because her husband hit retirement age.
Well, I guess I'm comfortable with the numbers requested under health insurance. I think you're more than covered there.
Unless I'm really screwing up, that doesn't add up. If you take 9 people and it's single, that's what, 600? Close to 700?
785.38. 785.38.
The premium.
Oh, with the 20% is, well, you gotta take it times 12 months too.
Right, but what's a single premium?
785.38.
785.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then my figures are close. That's gonna be,
And for all of them, well, take 3760 and,
I came up with 129,000 total for the year, using these numbers right here, the actuals. And it's actually gonna cost us 294,000. Now, maybe I'm doing something wrong here, but
So same time today, when we're done, I'll go through this again. So,
for just the 4 people is 3,140 per month. For just 4 people on the upper one, on the 3,400.
right, 4 singles.
Singles.
Right,
Yeah.
times 12 is 37,680.
Right, and then you got 4 families,
Yep,
so that's another 60,
that is another,
wow, 62 or so.
Should come out about it.
no, because your family is 1564.
About 1564.
Mm-hmm.
Times 8, so it'd be 1,200.
Times 20%. Oh, times 20%, I'm sorry, 1564 times 20% is 1876. Because it's currently at 1564 times your 20% is 1876
Right.
for this coming year.
So my numbers are even low.
Mm-hmm. So you take the 1876 times my 4 people there, 7504 for 1 month, times 12 is 90,048.
And I had 80, so I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that even skews it more.
So if you take I have 8 people in single.
So 1,500.
3760. And then your
Family's costing us $108,000 a year,
times
okay?
12 plus
For 6.
360. I still get 27,728
That's what I came up with too, for the top one.
for the top one. And I put, what did I put, 7?
794, so you're close.
Yeah,
You came up with what on the,
127,728.
This is real close to what there is there.
And then on the bottom, let's see, my 4,
yeah, but what I'm saying is your, what do you say you actually used?
Well, by your
80,000,
actual, she's saying it's
80,000,
about
correct?
80,000, yeah.
Right. We'll take 80,000 and take, 49,000, that's 129,000. Okay,
Yeah, total.
total. All right? And,
bless you.
Thank you.
She's estimating,
and if you go by today's premiums,
What'd you get on the bottom? Carl?
6 singles, we got a total of 9 singles. And you said that's what, how much? The premium?
For single,
Yeah,
785.
$785.
times 12.
That's 84,780.
This is total, he's figuring the two lines.
Okay,
Oh, you're doing the two lines together? But you gotta take it, that's 785 per person, so you have to take it times the amount of people.
right.
Okay.
Put it times 9. Okay, do the same with the,
And I still come up with the same answer, so I'm not quite sure how you're.
So what number did you come up
So-
with?
Yeah, what number did you come up with?
When you did the 9 of them?
I come up with, what did I just say here? Of course I didn't write it down. $84,780.
As I say, I thought it was 84.
Okay, 84,780.
34,780.
So let's do the family. We've got 6 on the family, and that's gonna cost us how much?
Per month? Was it 1876 we estimated?
Yep, 1876.
And then take that
Times
times 0.8
6
those, so
times
18,
12.
No, that's the figure that.
Yeah, that's the figure.
But the employee pays 20%, so.
Oh, I don't have that in there.
You don't
I
wanna have the employees.
I don't have to have that this is just the
That's not an
county.
in and out, that's just this is our
I
cost.
know, so right, so if the employee's gonna pay 20%, that's not our cost. It lowers the
No,
cost by
this,
20%.
that 1876, that's what the county is. That's not including the whole amount. Right, Carla? And that's the amount,
Right, that's
yeah,
the county's portion,
yeah.
because we don't budget for the employee's portion.
Yeah.
It comes out of their check.
Okay, so that even skews it. Okay, so 1876 is our cost.
Right.
So
All right,
when I do the math, I come up with very close to what Julie has.
that's
here.
135,084. There again, that's, whatever, 219? That comes to 219,000.
And you add 92, 170 to 127, you're pretty close.
You got 2 lines for the health insurance.
Yeah, I have two, yeah.
I know.
We're at 219,852.
And I had 219,964.
So you're close.
And we're hoping that that's smaller.
But otherwise, I don't think there's much to be adjusted.
No, there's a couple that I wanted to bring to your attention that I had to increase, and that was the dues and memberships. I have a credential coming, so I went from 2,500 to 5,000. Healthy Families, we have our credential this coming next fiscal year, so I had to put that in. That's gonna cost us about $3 to be accredited with that. And then that also does the education and training part on page 55. because they'll have to go in and probably follow some of their. So then the following budget year, that will go back down again. And they're gonna be coming around, November of next year. But they at least gave us a year in advance to do that.
Well, I look at the overall budget, and we're only going up 50,000 out of a $1.4 million budget, so.
But she's also asking for double the transfer.
And the only reason I'm doing that is because I don't know where everything's gonna fall with this thing with the VA. So, I mean, and this Medicare, we just started a new program with the Medicare, started their new billing with PDGM, and they're cutting us, going to be cutting us anywhere from 20% to 80% in our reimbursement. So the billing is totally different from that. I don't know how that's gonna affect us, but like right now, I only have probably half a dozen to a dozen people on Medicare. My major people we take care of are the MCOs, VA, and private pay right now. But like I was always taught your expenditures had to match your expense. Your expenditures have to match your income. So now I did not take in account to what is already in my fund balance
So like
in that number.
on the revenue side, I'm looking at page 25, the home care aid service, that it was only 10,000 actual, budgeted 40,000. Is that the one that VA is not helping with right now?
No, actually that, on page, what page did you tell me?
25.
I have to get to my page 25, hold on. That I believe is on my private pay people. And right now, some of those people who are my private pay people have been moved to the MCOs. Or on VA. And you have to remember VA, I get paid 100% of what I, bill. So if I bill $120 or $25, I get paid $125.
Oh, here, veterans.
Yes. I did not account for in that line of what they owe me right now, which is 50. Actually, it's like 47 something, not including what I have to so if you put that 50 on there, that's 111, right? Yeah. 115. And I have currently I'll have 22 vets on. We just got another referral from them. Cindy's doing awesome.
Yeah, if she
It's-
doesn't know, she looks into it.
Yes, and I mean, it's kind of back to the old way.
What's her last name?
Layman,
The
I knew it,
superintendent's wife.
yeah, superintendent's wife, yeah. Mhm. And she goes out and researches it, and you're right, if she doesn't know, she asks.
She networks with the other counties.
Yep. She come in and ask us of what we know or, need. Just trying to find that number for you. we have, for the Medicare billing, instead of billing every 60 days, now I have to bill every 30 days. And currently, right now, when I bill that 30 days, I get 20% of that claim right now. And then at the end, I'll get the 80%. Well, that's going to be dropping. Well, currently I was getting 40 and 60. Now it's 20 and 80. And by the year 2022, that will be,
Zero.
and we'll lose part of our rural areas. Right now, I believe we're at, because we're rural, we get 4% and 19, 3% and 22, and 20, 2% and 21, and 1% and 22.
Explain that one.
Yeah, they're getting away with the rural part, and so I get 20%, but then I get an additional 3%, so I'm at 23% because I'm rural. Next year, I'll get 22%. The following year, I'll get 21% of that first part of the bill, that claim I go. And then they're gonna be doing away with what they call a RAP. It will be notice of decision that we accepted that person on as Medicare. It all comes down to coding, how the nurses assess it, and what the person, why we're seeing that person. That's why we're sending the nurses to all these, so we can get more bang for our buck. And then it's how why we are in there.
Sounds really complicated.
It
All
is,
to satisfy the paperwork.
all to satisfy the paperwork.
And if all the dollars were kept at the county level, we could do all this in minutes.
Years and years and years ago, when I started at healthcare in Britt, worked at doctor's office, we didn't do it the old way that was last year. We just did fee for service. And then I got a healthcare, went to education, then jumped back in, so I had to learn the RAP and the PPS one. Now it's this new PDGM, which is, yeah, it's crazy. You have to pretty much have the DNA, and you have to rely on the doctors, and you have to rely on them getting the correct codes to you. Because diabetes is great when someone has it, but then why does he have it? Is it because of this, or does he have a sore from that? I mean, it all kind of correlates everything.
Are they still doing a rating for you, or doing?
Oh, the value base? Yeah. That'll be here forever. We were hoping it would go away, but nope.
And that's where you've got to figure out how to make.
You
it
compare
nice and
apples,
roll to
yep.
Get better.
Yep, apples to oranges, yep,
That's not the way,
Yep.
unfortunately,
Yep.
that's not the way it works.
yep. And it goes off of, again, by the OASIS assessments that the nurses have to address. Can they dress themselves? Can they take their meds? Are they mentally being able to do that? And why I said that, mental, I did in that dollar figure I gave her, because I don't know where the CSS stands, I did add that, some money of that into that dollar figure too, but I didn't put it as a separate line item, because I didn't know how you wanted to do that, because I don't know if we go to that other county, what they're gonna play.
Anything mental health issue wise would come from Montana, and the Northwest Care Connections covers.
So like right now, I currently bill Butler County and I get a check. So would I currently then,
Once we switch, you will be billing wherever, that is yet to be determined.
that is, okay.
And,
Because Sandy didn't know if they were gonna be able to,
because the county that did Northwest, see, they've got they started out with 6 counties and they couldn't even get them, they're down to 3.
Okay,
We have 2 more that are leaving, in June 30th. And one of the counties that is leaving is the county that did all their paperwork and billing or whatever. So now their 3 counties and our 3 counties are gonna join. We have to figure out where that is gonna be done.
okay.
Who's gonna be the,
Administrative county.
yeah, the administrative county.
Cause how I did that, and, cause I put that in that big number that I because I added, 15, where'd my sticky note go?
So in the revenue side,
Yeah, I didn't put it in a separate line item because I wasn't sure what was going on with that.
that's in the.
That's in the, yeah, that's in
First
that,
line.
yeah,
Okay, so.
because that would be like 15,
So it's possible. that
15,000,
this
yeah.
could Come from Fund 10 or / the Northwest Iowa Care Connection.
yeah. Because currently I only have 2 people that I billed to CSS, so I figured out what we've done in the last 3 years and averaged that out. Because my costs are $125 for a nurse, and they are currently paying me $110.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
It's paying for everything, he says. Yeah. Just
So-
said it a little bit ago, and since.
So I figured that at 125, because my cost report came back and we're not,
Since.
we didn't raise our
2017, we've had, probably right close to $1 million with my Better County money that did come back in our county.
Mhm.
Signal would get it out of that,
Mhm.
take care of ourselves.
Mhm. Exactly.
Without paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, without paperwork, yeah, we could have, it's legalized theft is what it is. Anyway, hopefully, when we get to this new region, we're also gonna, that we'll be better financially represented as far as, we'll have more money to take care of our own people. I mean, it's so that the money will be there for those 6.
Because they're definitely out there.
So is there a line item in revenue for CSS?
No. Actually, right now I've been putting it in the nursing, when I get it, I put it in the nursing service because,
Okay, the third line?
Yeah. Yep.
Should that be a separate line item showing that, or for mental health?
That's up to you.
it doesn't matter, it can be, I just didn't,
Well, it would be.
because
nice-
I didn't-
It would be.
yeah, it would be nice so we
track,
know.
Because those are answers we can't get now.
Right.
And with our current one, they won't.
Well, you know that line that says Magellan there, we don't use that anymore, we could put it there.
Can you rename something
No.
else?
You can't rename, we can't rename it?
Not like that, because there's a reason for those
Okay,
numbers.
because we don't have, them anymore, so if you could get me a different number, that would be fine, we could just put CSS down then.
Well, no, mental health.
Mental
Or mental health, or whatever.
Then it
Mental health.
qualifies for the Fund
Yeah.
10 monies.
And then we could start to develop a system where we can track
Mhm.
our.
And you-
Because when Sandy asked me for those numbers, I just pulled it up on my Carefax, because I can just pull up a report and it can tell you how many visits for each of my people went and what each of those visits
Well,
were.
that's what's the only sign, you don't always happen to be around, so it would be nice to have that identified.
Okay, so now on your expenditure side, is there a line item for the public, or for the mental health?
Mm-mm. No,
So if we're gonna do it on one side, we should almost do it on the other side too, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
So when
no,
you-
I didn't do I didn't do it.
That's fine, but for going forward,
Mhm.
it'd probably be prudent.
Just so we can track it easier and identify the.
Because that would, really it would just be part of the nurse's salary
Right,
when they go out.
and it's gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
is it usually one nurse, or is it several nurses that deal with it, or?
I think currently right now, I think it's one nurse right now.
And it's only on need?
They're seen every week,
Okay,
once a week,
so you
to go over
could,
their meds.
you could take a percentage of a nurse's salary
Mhm.
and
Yep,
not really.
but not really, but you could, after everything is done, and, you could take her salary probably and divide that out by the 2, maybe.
Problem is you have to follow the chart of accounts.
Yep, exactly,
Start
yep.
Adding stuff for stuff that's not meant to be.
Because it's just it's a nursing visit, we don't do
You
any,
couldn't track that. There's no way.
I can, because in my program, it tells me what nurse goes out there. It tells me what nurse made it, and how much my visit is.
I think that's a better way to track it than
Yeah.
using our system.
Yeah,
Alright,
because you could pull it up that way, and
so it'd just be an attachment when we're talking budget.
yeah, and say, this is how much, say Barb would go out and see this person.
One time we need that at meetings, even a new group,
Those numbers,
yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how long a time she spends there, it's still gonna be like, right now, it's $115. So if she's there seeing John Doe for an hour and a half, it's still $115. But if she sees him for 15 minutes, it's $150. Because it's per visit, where my aid is
And
per
that's-
hour.
That's a mental health visit.
Yep, yep. Because they have to do a pre-auth also, and I get those, they do it every 3 months. And then I get saying that John Doe is approved for 4 visits or 8 visits or whatever. So,
and you already gave Sandy those numbers.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I
which
did actually the last 3 years, yeah.
CSS would even attempt to get them for us.
But yeah, my program, I just punch in who they are, and the payer is, and it's right there. Actually, I still have the payer under Sandy because it's just easier that way. And then when I bill them, I white out Sandy's name and put CSS in it and scan it and email it to her.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want it mailed, they wanted it emailed. And then I keep all,
Send it to Northwest Care Connections.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything on Ron's budget? This didn't really change her much. 27, page 59.
Well, I see the one increase, I'm trying to figure out where the other, oh, there's,
Line changes higher, and there's
It's all salaries.
the salaries, the lion's
Yep.
share of it.
associated.
Yep,
So,
Okay, obviously, I've had a huge mental block on this health insurance.
okay.
What did you base the 2021 request on? The 20% increase, but from what number did you increase? You just went through all of the insurance. Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
In fact, I figured it like 3 or 4 times just because I just thought it was weird when I plugged the numbers in that they were the same, so I had to dig out last year and say, what the heck, you know? But then I remember, but then I know that I have one employee that halfway through last year went from family to single because her husband was at retirement age. So she had a change in, what do you call that, change in status, so she could flip down. And that's why it's reflecting this year too, because I had already added it in as her for being family.
Say on the revenue side of sanitarian,
Okay, hold on. Okay,
well testing and abandonment, is there funding that comes to us somewhere else?
that's the grant to county.
Huh?
That's the grant, that's his grant, that's the grant to county grant. And that's the 3,500, that's what he gets this year, but we don't hardly ever spend all that. Cause you can only well test and plug so many, and the
Okay, so that
abandoned,
money comes from where?
the state.
Okay.
And we just got to bill for first quarter with them because they had a glitch in their program, and so we just billed for first quarter right before Christmas, and now we can bill for second quarter. But remember last year, they didn't pay us until they were 6 months behind paying us.
And then the sewage disposal and septic, that's just fees from the people doing the
Yes.
systems?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Where's the radio go?
The miscellaneous part, I think that's where he puts that in. Or in the other health. They're only $9. It might go in the other health. I'd have to really ask him for sure. Because when I asked him if anything would change, he said, no, they said next year will be the same as the grants to counties as this year. Well, it goes off of the farmers. What did he tell me? The farmers, like what they spend on chemicals and fertilizer and stuff, that's how they get. Yeah, that's how they come about their numbers. So that's kind of a. Alrighty, anything else?
Carla, what's our cost again? On insurance, single?
I don't have it, she's got it.
Oh,
Currently, right now, currently
okay, single,
single is $654.48.
48 cents, okay?
Family is $1,564.14.
And that's,
That's just what it costs the county.
That's just what it
That's
costs.
less than 20%.
Yep, that's just what it costs the county.
And you haven't put an increase for this year in that number?
right.
No, that's current count, this,
Monthly cost.
yep, this year, yep. And what do we pay? I'm family, I pay,
Upper threes?
yeah, I was gonna say about,
Wow.
not quite,
I only have one other.
it's not quite 3.
It's 390
Yeah.
something or whatever.
Yeah, it's 100 and,
Is it 290 for with one person?
Yeah.
yeah, cause
Mine for
they
family
do
is
different,
just short of.
see, and I didn't do the different tiers, I just did that single, I took the top one, cause each one for family is a little bit different, so I took the highest
Three
number.
kids, it won't go up.
Yeah, I just
Three
took
kids
the,
and beyond, but one kid, two kid is different. Then the third kid is a price, and then after that, fourth, fifth, sixth, it
Right.
doesn't matter.
And if it's you and a spouse, isn't it different than you and a kid?
yes,
Yes, because that would only be one person on it.
Yes, and so I took the highest number I
If you and
could.
a spouse is one person.
Yeah, and then it's you and a spouse and a kid, it's two people.
I know,
You and a
but-
spouse,
But it's the rate difference between having a kid or a spouse.
Yes.
Yes,
there would be because the spouses are usually more expensive. The older you get, the higher
Yep.
maintenance you are.
Yep.
Because I just have the kid. Who's getting-
We have an employee that's 65, are they forced to go on, no?
mm-mm. And that one that I have is single. She takes single insurance.
5?
Because I have one
They have
that's,
the option to do it.
they have the option, right?
That would be.
Yep.
Denise.
So that's why we moved Kinsey up, because I didn't know if she was gonna retire yet, and I just need to, I want to have someone there just in case. So, but she likes what she does, and people like her, and actually, we're getting more respite now. So we had to turn them away because I didn't have that body. So we're definitely keeping Kinsey busy.
Yeah.
My girls last month, just the home care aide saw 500 visits, did 500 between home care aide and homemaker.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
And my nurses did 333. Getting that ready for the Board of Health,
all
17th.
of our communities are getting older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn,
What time? Same time?
8,
Oh, 8.
8.
I think this census is gonna be interesting to see, you know, what the population changed in the last 10 years.
Yep.
Because you look at it, we added the building here in town that added more population, and I added 14 so far in mine. It's probably gonna be higher by the time the census come around in Thompson, and just those things alone, maybe a few houses got tore down.
Buffalo's had a few houses that are been sitting empty for a while, but then a couple of them that just got families moved into them, so a little bit. It's funny on the census that you just cannot believe that it could be this way, but illegal immigration creates a new congressman every
I heard
day.
California's being threatened to lose one. Because everybody's moving out of town.
Well, no, but they're illegal immigration. See,
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't know what's coming in that way. And they count everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or not. They count everybody that's in every house. And therefore, the population will increase that way and they'll get another, they create a congressional district, I can't remember what it is, every so often, another congressional district is created in California.
They were talking like this
Population
census, they
wise.
might lose one because of the.
Legally, they're losing people, but illegally, their population is going up, and then that will be counted in this next census, and we'll find out.
That's still in the courts.
What's that?
You know, Trump challenged that.
It should be, but,
Yeah, no, but he actually did.
yeah,
I can't remember if it's still in the courts.
but that's why they don't wanna do anything about illegal immigration, because they want. And of course, those districts that are created are gonna vote a certain way, so.
Done with me?
Yes, unless you want
All of this.
No. So I don't listen to the news.
Sure.
I quit. I don't listen to that anymore.
It was interesting last night. After they took out those two guys.
Yeah. It was interesting this morning, too.
I haven't looked at the other side, I just listened to what's.
Well, and a lot of the news I get is, I
Both sides are just getting louder and louder.
Yeah.
We just need to go back to what
They
it
talk
was
over each other.
many years ago.
you know, it's
All right, well, you guys have a good day.
Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too.
I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Go ahead.
Different